Hey, I've been getting some comments about why didn't I just fix the cab? You know, so and so cut the roof off, I cut the roof off and replaced them a bunch of times. On dents, I do not like doing that, and I'm about ready to show you why. Now, this was a real easy rollover to the driver's side, and I'll show you all the damage that happened. You know, the roof is cut off, so obviously I can't show you where it was torn, but I'll get into why you don't fix a dent cab. If it's a rollover, you just replace the cab. That's all there is to it. If it's got a full roll cage in it and all you're doing is cosmetic work on a shelf, fine. But if all you have is a sheet metal cab and it rolls over, you replace the cab. And here's why. Okay, you can see this kink at the bottom of the A-pillar, and it actually smashed this in a little bit also, and I don't think that was part of it. But on this side, this, you can see it's torn in there, was actually pulled away from the A-pillar, and it's bent down to about here, so it's pulled out about that far, and it's kinked here. The cowl is destroyed from where the A-pillar got pulled back out. Now in the back, this is even better, because there's the bottom of the windshield channel. You can see that this was torn in the bottom. This metal is torn right where my finger is and separated here, and it's kinked all the way down below the window. And this was the easy hit. This was just pulling on the cab. You have that kink. The metal was actually torn here. It was kinked in here. It was kinked over here. And like I said, that's where the metal tore. It actually started pulling on the seam here because that wasn't there before. On this side, look at this. See this gap? Those few spot welds are gone and pulled apart. The factory seam is pulled apart, and it's twisted all the way down almost to the floor, just from a light rollover. Seams twisted here, we're pulling apart here, and you can see how far this was bent. It's kinked here, it's bent. Here's a triangulation point. Down here, there's the floor. I have a line, I don't know if you can see it, it goes from my finger here down to the floor, and then another triangulation line up here. It started to separate the rear wall and up here. All that stuff was tight. On the other side, that whole seam is separated. I know, why don't I just cut the roof off? Well, look at all the spot welds in here. That if I had straightened this, all these spot welds were pulled apart. Still got a little bit hanging on. But if this ever got in another wreck, they would all break. If this ever got in another rollover, it would just squash. Now I showed you that the damage from a light rollover to the top goes all the way down to the floor. A lot of people won't fix all that. And that's the reason why I say you don't fix a dent rollover. You just don't do it. It's not safe. Yeah, you can make it look like a truck again, but it's not safe. All of the factory seams are twisted and stressed and fatigued, and they will not hold up in another accident. That's just all there is to it. You don't play with safety like that. And look across the back wall of this thing. That's supposed to be flat. Can you see how it's caved in right there? And then over on the other side, this is actually bowed in like this and then down, and that's supposed to be flat. There's so much damage to this cab that it's just not funny. I mean, you don't fix that. Oh, you know, so-and-so had a light rollover just like that. Well, okay, his truck's not safe. If he's not running a full roll cage, his truck's not safe. If he rolls it over again, the roof is going to squash down to the back of the seat. That's the way it is. So, there's my reasoning and justification. I live and breathe Dentsides. I know all of their strengths and all of their weaknesses, and the roof is definitely not a strong point on these trucks. Luckily, there's not many accidents that involve the roof, so it's not a big deal. But there you go. If you roll a dent over, you just replace the cab with one that has not been rolled over. There's too much stress and too much tweaking that goes on that you won't see if you're not knowing what to look for.